Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS, presenting to you the daily quiz for 11th of May 2022. But before we begin, here is an update with respect to Target Prelims 2022 free crash course. Do not forget to tune into our channel at 7:30 p.m. today for Environment and Ecology Session 1 by Mukesh Jha sir and Session 2 at 7:30 tomorrow, that is the 12th of May. You can set a reminder for the sessions by clicking on the links given in the description box below. Now let us begin and take a look at the first question for today. This temple dedicated to Surya, the solar deity, is also known as Pandau Laidan. It was built in the 8th century AD by Lalitaditya Muktapida of the Karkota dynasty. The temple being talked about is option A, Modhera Sun Temple, option B, Konark Sun Temple, option C, Martand Sun Temple, option D, Kumbakonam Suryanar Kovil. The right answer to this question is option C, Martand Sun Temple. This Martand Sun Temple in Anantnag district is the oldest sun temple in India. It is devoted to Surya, the sun god, also called as Martand. Kalhana, who is a famous Sanskrit poet and the author of Raja Tarangini, which is an account of the history of Kashmir, had written that this sun temple was built in 8th century AD by the third ruler of Karkota dynasty, Lalitaditya Muktapida. This temple includes a colonnaded courtyard with its main shrine in the middle and 84 lesser shrines around it. Different gods like Vishnu, river goddesses like Ganga and Yamuna are also depicted in the antechamber of the shrine, in complement to the sun god Surya. This site is of national significance as classified by the Archaeological Survey of India. So the right answer is option C, Martand Sun Temple. Now, this Konark Sun Temple was originally built by the Eastern Ganga dynasty king Narasimha Deva I, and the Sun Temple at Modhera is believed to have been built by King Bhimadeva I of the Chalukya dynasty. Let me know in the comments section who built the Suryanar Kovil temple. We've taken up this question for discussion because there was a reference to the Martand Sun Temple in today's Indian Express newspaper. Moving on to question number 2. Which of the given statements is or are correct? Number 1. The demographic dividend is the economic growth potential resulting out of changing population age structure in a country. Number 2. When the dependency ratio is minimum and the age pyramid shows bulge in the middle portion, a country is said to be in the demographic dividend phase. Number 3. In India, 1921 is known as the year of demographic divide because it is the census year when there was a sudden increase in the growth of population. What is the context? This article in the Indian Express newspaper today talks about India's age pyramid, and that is why we've taken up this question relating to demographic dividend. But first, what exactly is demographic dividend? As per the definition of United Nations Population Fund, demographic dividend is the economic growth potential that can result from shifts in a population's age structure, mainly when the share of the working age population, that is, population aged between 15 to 64, is larger than the non-working age share of the population, which is 14 and younger and 65 and older. To put it in simple words, when the number of people in the workforce is growing relative to the dependent population, the economic growth potential is called as demographic dividend. So when we take a look at statement number 1 here, it becomes correct. Now let us see an age structure pyramid. When we take a look at this age structure pyramid, when there is a bulge in the middle, the country is said to be in a demographic dividend phase. That is, here the population in the age group 15 to 64 is more as compared to those below 15 and above 64. So statement number 2 is also correct. Coming to statement number 3. In India, the year of demographic divide or the year of great divide is 1921. Correct? Why? Because before this year, the population was not constant. Sometimes there was an increase and other times there was a decrease. But the growth cycle was generally low before 1921. But after 1921, there has been considerable and constant increase in the population. So statement number 3 becomes incorrect. Why? Because the second part of this statement is incorrect. Because in census year 1921, there was still a decrease in the growth of population. It was after 1921 that the population started growing. Therefore, the right answer to our question would be option A, 1 and 2 only. Moving on to question number 3. Which of the given pairs is or are correctly matched? Number 1, Santur, Tatavadya. Number 2, Kolalu, Sushiravadya. Number 3, Pakhavaj, Ghanavadya. What is the context? The Santur maestro Pandit Shivakumar Sharma is no more amongst us, and the Prime Minister has given his condolences on his demise. Because of the reference to Santur, we have taken up this question for discussion. Now, see, the study of musical instruments helps in tracing the evolution of music itself. And according to Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra, the musical instruments have been divided into 4 main categories. And this categorization is based on how the sound is produced. The first category is Tatavadya or stringed instruments. For example, Veena or Santur. And these are also called as chordophones. The second categorization is Sushira Vadya or wind instruments like the Shehnai, Nadaswaram, flute, etc. These are also called as aerophones. The third one is Avannadhavadya or membrophones, which are percussion instruments. Here, sound is produced by striking the animal skin which has been stretched across a earthen or metal pot or also a wooden barrel. For example, the tabla or the pakhavaj. And the last categorization is that of Ghanavadya. So these were the earliest instruments that were invented by man. They do not need any special tuning prior to playing them. For example, jhanj. Now coming back to our question, the first pair is correctly matched. Santur is a form of Tatavadya. Kolalu, which is a type of flute, belongs to the category of Sushiravadya, correct? But Pakhavaj belongs to the category of Avannadavadya and not Ghanavadya. So this becomes incorrect. Therefore, the right answer to our question would be option A, 1 and 2 only. Moving on to question number 4. Which of the given statements is or are correct with respect to United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification or UNCCD? Number 1, UNCCD is the sole legally binding international agreement linking environment and development to sustainable land management. Number 2, it is one of the 3 Rio Conventions. Number 3, India has hosted 2 editions of the UNCCD Conference of Parties. Number 4, the UNCCD is the custodian agency for Sustainable Development Goal Indicator 15.3.1. Now, why have we taken this question? There is a reference to UNCCD and its 15th Conference of Parties or COP in today's PIB article, and hence we've taken up this question for discussion. See, the UNCCD was established in the year 1994. This is a legally binding environment convention, and this obliges national governments to take measures to tackle the issue of desertification. India ratified this convention in December 1996. Now coming back to our question. Is this the sole legally binding international agreement that links environment and development to sustainable management? Yes, it is. So statement number 1 is correct. Statement number 2 is also correct because it is one of the 3 Rio Conventions, the other 2 being UNCBD or United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity and UNFCCC or United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. India for the first time hosted an edition of UNCCD COP in the year 2019. That was COP 14. So this becomes incorrect. Now the last statement. See, these kind of statements could be tricky as you cannot keep a note of all the sub-pointers under SDGs. But if you know that Sustainable Development Goal number 15 promotes life on land, you can mark this answer. See, the UNCCD is the custodian agency for SDG indicator 15.3.1. The goal is to combat desertification, restore degraded land and soil, including land affected by desertification, drought and floods, and strive to achieve a land degradation neutral world by the year 2030. So statement number 4 becomes correct. Therefore, the right answer to our question would be option B, 1, 2 and 4 only. Now let us take up a previous year question from Prelims paper 2014. If the interest rate is decreased in an economy, it will option A, decrease the consumption expenditure in the economy, Option B, increase the tax collection of the government. Option C, increase the investment expenditure in the economy. Option D, increase the total savings in the economy. Taking a look at this statement. Lower interest rates make savings less attractive. So this becomes incorrect. There will be decrease in total savings. The relationship between interest rate and investment expenditure is illustrated by the investment curve of the economy. And this curve has a downward slope, which indicates that a drop in interest rate causes investment spending to rise. That is, investment expenditure increases. Therefore, option C will be the right answer. Now let us take a look at the fact of the day for today, which is Marsquake. What is the context? NASA recently reported that its InSight Mars lander detected the largest quake ever observed on another planet. And this is nothing but a Marsquake. Ever since its landing in 2018 November, the rover has heard 1300 odd quakes. So now let us understand what this Marsquake is. On Earth, earthquake is caused by shifts in tectonic plates, right? But Mars does not have this feature. Its crust is a giant plate. So Marsquake is a shaking of the surface of interior of this planet Mars as a result of sudden release of energy in planet's interiors. So what causes it? Marsquakes are caused due to stresses that cause rock fractures or faults in the crust. See, the first attempt to detect seismic activity on Mars were in the Viking program in 1975. And although those landers were operated for several years, the seismographs were mounted on top of the landers and they were not able to detect any clear seismic activity. Why? Because of the Martian wind blowing them too much. Now, InSight lander has detected close to 1300 quakes. The initial quakes that InSight felt were relatively low magnitude. And before the current one, the largest Marsquake that the spacecraft had detected was of magnitude 4.2. And the latest one is a 5-pointer. However, this is pretty weak as compared to those we sometimes experience on Earth. But NASA says it is close to the strongest kind of quake scientists expected to see on Mars. That is all for today. Thank you for being with us. Keep watching and keep learning.